Welcome to Challenger Deep, athletes rising above adversity, where we explore stories of athletes who've faced their lowest points and risen to incredible heights. Did you know Challenger Deep is the lowest point in the ocean, making it the lowest point on Earth? When you're at your lowest, the beautiful truth is there's nowhere to go but up. We all face adversity, but how we choose to respond defines who we become. Join hosts Jeff Heggie and Tammy Matheny as we share powerful stories of everyday athletes' resilience, growth, and triumph. These stories will inspire you to rise above your challenges and reach new heights. Let's dive in.
All right. Hey, welcome back, everyone. We're excited to be here today with Sherry Winn. She's a two-time Olympian, national championship coach, and CEO of the Winning Leadership Company. And probably more important, someone that I think Tammy and I would both say is a great friend of ours. And we're excited to have her on here to talk about some of the things she's been through with her adversity and how she's overcome it. And we've loved putting this series together, talking with athletes and coaches about their experiences facing adversity. And also, I guess, even talking about that, it's all based around our book, Challenger Deep, Athletes Rise Above Adversity. Sherry was one of the ones that helped us. She read it before we released it and gave us a lot of great input. And so we're excited to have you here with us today, Sherry. Please just tell us a little bit more about yourself.
Oh man, I always love it when people read bios and they're like, she did this and did that and did that. And then we never in a bio go, and here's the list of failures. Here's all the ways that I imploded and where I struggled, because we don't really want to hear that from people. And I think that we do need to hear it, because we need to hear both sides. We need to hear the side of that where we were able to really be successful. And we need to hear the side of the struggle, because we need to know that is the pathway to success. Is the struggle is the pathway to success. So I'm really thrilled to be here with you guys today to talk about all of this.
Awesome. I've never heard anyone say that definition, Sherry, but I'm going to have to steal that from you and use it. Yeah, love it. The first question I always like to ask, and I think you kind of alluded to it when you were just talking, but what does adversity mean to you?
Well, it used to mean, let's just go back to what it used to mean, right? So when I was younger, it used to mean like, oh my gosh, this is happening to me. This isn't fair. It's too hard. I'll never get through it. Everybody else has it easier. That's what it used to mean. Now it means literally is, it's an adventure. It's an adventure into the next opportunity. That's what it means. And so when I can redefine that, there's excitement around it. There's like passion about going, into this thing that's happening. It's going to be a different outcome. So I think that, that definition, and not just the definition, but really believing it as truth, is the essential part of this.
I'm still in that one as well. I'm already taking notes. Well, let's get into some adversity that you have faced then. Tell us a story. I know you probably have so many to draw from, but a story during your playing career where you had adversity, and how did you end up rising above that?
Like you said, there's so many. And I think that the misconception is that if you're an Olympian, you're born at the right time in the right family with the right talent in the right place, and everything was just golden for you. And that was not the case. That's not how it went at all. So, one of my biggest challenges was I didn't like myself. And then interestingly, if you don't like yourself, nobody else likes you either. Right? And the way that showed up for me is it started when I was a young kid. And my mother sang this terrible song that people don't think about words, right? They just think it's a ditty and it's kind of funny. The words were, nobody likes you. Everybody hates you. You need to eat some worms. First you get the bucket, then you get the shovel. Ooh, how they wiggle and squirm. Listen to the words. Nobody likes you. Everybody hates you. Well, unknown to me, that is the program that my brain accepted as truth, because when you're young, you can't filter out things. So how this manifested for me, even as a young child, is I would start playing sports, and I was, I had talent. You can't be an Olympian without talent. So let's just say that you have to have some talent. So I had talent, and I got things pretty quickly. I understood how to win really quickly. And so even as an elementary school kid, I'd go in and I would be really good. And then I'd hear players talk and I'd go, oh my gosh, they're talking about me. They don't like me. And then what I would do is I'd separate from them. And then they would think, because of my talent, that I thought I was better than them. Now, this story repeated itself junior high, from elementary to junior high to high school to college. And it manifested into continual pain for me, emotional pain for me, and the reinforcement that I was not liked, I wasn't good enough, I wasn't worthy. And it ended up in my sophomore year in college where I was the leading scorer on the team. We were 10 games in. I was the leading scorer, I was leading an assist. And my teammates went to my coach and said, we can't play with Sherry. We can't play with her. So my coach, not knowing how to deal with conflict, said, she told me, you're the best player I've ever coached. You could be All-American. That was her words. But I can't let you be that person on the team that disrupts the team. So I'm going to take you down the locker room and I'm going to let the team tell you what they think about you. And they did. And they unleashed on me, right? So they didn't know better because, look, they weren't given, like, how do you deal with conflict and what ways should you speak? The coach didn't know better. And I was just blasted. Well, my self-esteem was already really low. And I couldn't handle it. I absolutely couldn't handle it. I couldn't handle the things they were telling me. I mean, they weren't very nice. I mean, they were just like, you think you're a hot dog. You think you're better than us. You're not. You just think you do. You don't need to dribble between your legs behind your back. You're just showing off. I mean, they were just like, you don't ever say anything nice to us. I mean, it was just like, on and on and on. And the coach never interrupted. She just let, player after player come after me. And I finally just stood up and I said, I'm quitting. I can't do it. Like, I can't do this. Because I was so in pain already. And then they were attacking, like, my very fragile self-esteem. And so I quit. And then what happened is I just started drinking. Like, that was my answer. Because I didn't have any tools, right? I didn't have the tools to know how to navigate through any life. And so my answer was, let me just start drinking. And that was not a very good answer. That was not a good answer to adversity. That is not the way through it. So if you're listening today, it's not the way through it.
Hey, this episode of Challenger Deep Athletes Rise Above Adversity is brought to you by doTERRA, the world's leader in essential oils and wellness products. Are you ready to fuel your health and recovery like a pro? Listeners of this podcast can get 25% off all their doTERRA products and supplements. Head to the link in our show notes or go to confidentathleteprogram.com/doTERRA and start your journey to peak performance today.
Fortunately for me, through all of that, and this kind of like drunken haze I was going through, I had a classmate who said to me, hey, why don't you play this sport called team handball? You'll really love it. And I go, I don't even like racquetball. I'm not going to play no stupid sport. She goes, no. It's like, it's like basketball, but it's like, it's like soccer using the hands or water polo on land. You're going to love it. There's a lot of, like, you can hit people. That's legal. I'm like, oh, I can hit people. I'm in. Like, if I can hit people, I'm so angry. I just want to, So I went to this club sport and I started playing this game that I'd never seen, never heard of, didn't know anything about. And luckily for me, I was talented enough that 3 months later, I was invited to go to the national tournament with this club team. And that's where the future Olympic coach saw me play. And at that time, they took players who just had talent. Like, if you had talent and you could learn, they were going to take a chance on you. And so I started training with the national team. And that's really what turned my life around, right? And the big lesson I learned from that was, look, even if one door closes, it doesn't mean the dream is over. It means you're just pivoting to the thing that you really wanted, which was to be an Olympian, right? And so we interpret things as negative, as bad, as evil, and really it might just be the opportunity that we were waiting for.
There is a lot to pack in all that, but Jeff, go ahead. I'll let you go first.
It's such an incredible message and I love it. And I've loved to talk to you about your story and read your story and all the different things. And one of the things that I love about your experience is you've taken that, and through your coaching and through your career, you've been able to help so many people because of that. One of the things that I think is so hard, especially for young people, young athletes, but really for everyone, is looking at that adversity that you went through. In retrospect, you can look back and say, this is what it taught me and stuff. But how you began to deal with it, drinking obviously wasn't the way to go. But so how, when people are facing their adversity, how at that moment can they learn from your story? Can they learn from someone else's story so they can handle it better in the moment?
One of the biggest shifts that I made is that things don't happen to me, they happen for me. So if I could start identifying, it's hard to in the moment, but if you can really believe, how could this thing that's happening, how could the event that's happening be happening for me? In what ways can I grow from this and what can I learn from this instead of it happened to me? Because when it happens to you, you're the victim. And when you're the victim, you feel like hopelessness and helplessness, and you go down into this deep, dark place. When you think it's happening for me, I'm like, okay, what can I learn? How can I grow? Was there any truth to any of the words that they spoke to me? Was there truth here? And if so, how can I change? How can I evolve to become this better person? That's what all that means, right? And so that simple shift of, from 2 to 4, man, that can really alter the way that you deal with anything that's put in front of you.
You mentioned how for the majority of your life, of your playing career, you didn't like yourself. Started at an early age. Never heard that ditty except when you shared it with me before, but I hope it's not used out there. Parents, if you're listening, be careful of the ditties you're singing. But what are some tools? Because there are a lot of athletes, and I think especially female athletes, that don't like themselves. And it does often manifest itself as they think they're too good, or sometimes they don't care. So what are some tools that we can give our young athletes to help them to start to appreciate and like themselves?
That's a big one. I think the first thing is they probably don't even know that they don't like themselves, right? I mean, they don't identify with that thing. They might say, I don't have confidence. Okay, so where does that come from? Now, a lot of people say, well, from my coach needs to give it to me. No. It's you that need to give it to you. And so if you say I don't have confidence, part of that is in that piece is I don't like something about myself, right? I don't feel worthy enough. I don't feel good enough. Well, that's about you, right? That's about you. And so how do you find the piece of I am worthy? Because that's really where confidence comes from. I'm worthy. How do you find that? And to me, it's a really simple answer. We're all born that way. And then we learn differently. We all are born worthy. Nobody's born like, whatever higher power you believe in or whatever you believe in. I don't think that anybody was born to suck. I'm sorry. You're just not born to suck. You're not born that way. We learn that from our experiences, from our interpretation. Maybe somebody's told you that you're not good enough or that you're a failure, or in whatever ways they manifest that, and then we hear it and believe it. But if you really just start from the truth is that you're born a miracle, you're born a winner, you're born worthy. If you just start from there, because it is true, and then we learn all these other things. It's a learned behavior. It's a learned thought habit. Let me say behavior, thought habit. It's a learned thought habit. It's a learned belief. Well, if it was a learned belief, you can unlearn it.
Mic drop right there. Yes.
I'm taking notes.
Yeah, that is good stuff. It is. I agree with you completely that it is a learned behavior. And we can unlearn it, but easier said than done.
Yeah, it's because it becomes a belief. I mean, it is a deep ingrained belief, because if you said to yourself, like I said to myself hundreds of times, like nobody likes me, hundreds, thousands, probably thousands, right? If you've said that many times, that thought has become a belief. Now you've got to unwind the belief. You have to take that belief and you have to change your belief. So how do you do that? Well, there's no other way that I know of, and maybe you guys know another way, but there's no other way that I know of. Then you have to start inputting different information into your brain. So that means reading things that align with a new way of thinking. It means listening to things that align with a new way of thinking. It means having a coach or a mentor that can help you get to that new awareness. It means that repetitive, it's just like practicing. Look, nobody goes in the first day and goes, oh, I shoot 90% from the free throw line. No, you get there from repetition and repetition, repetition. It's the same thing that I will tell people who need to change a belief. It's repetition. I just had a guy that I am coaching, and he's a COO, right? So he's not an athlete. He used to be an athlete. He used to be a swimmer. And he learned, all the things that we should not teach people, which is no pain, no gain. You got to work harder than anybody else in the world to succeed. Those are not things we should teach. but he learned those. And so he was just beating the crap out of himself to get better at his job. And I said, you know what? I said, what is the first thing you do when you wake up? And he goes, oh, I have coffee. I said, after that. He goes, oh, I listen to politics and I listen to these people, these talking heads. It always makes me mad and angry. And I go, okay, stop. Right there. We got to change your routine. And he goes, what do you mean? I said, well, you're waking up angry and mad, and then you expect different results the rest of your day. Let's start with something positive. I said, let's listen to a positive podcast. He's like, well, whatever. Well, so I said, no, really, you got to stop listening to things that make you angry and mad and hurt you, and listen to things that make you feel good. So I talked to him the other day, and he goes, oh my gosh, I'm 37 episodes into this podcast and I feel great. I'm so happy. I can't believe I love going to work. I don't care what's going on because I know it's okay and everything's going to work out. And I'm like, okay. So we're changing the way, the thought habits that he had, into a new place. And he's like, there's 1,218 episodes and I'm listening to every one of them. I'm like, perfect. That's what you have to do, literally, so there's so many positives out there. But folks, what happens is you watch shows that are negative, right? Any show that creates conflict, negative, because the people that react, they react. They're not teaching you how to resolve it. They're showing you the reaction, and everybody thinks that's the right way. I'm like, oh Lord, no, that's not it. That's not it. That's not it. That's not it. So any negative thing that you listen to, negative things that you allow yourself to watch, toxic people you hang out with, all of those are keeping you in the negative space. You literally have to remove yourself from the negative and get into the positive intentionally every day.
I love that. There's so many things that you're talking about right now that just remind me of so many principles that have been true principles forever, that Napoleon Hill teaches so much in his Think and Grow Rich and all of those, that, the auto suggestion and who you surround yourself with, all those things. I had a conversation with a soccer player yesterday up in upstate New York, and problem that he's facing is exactly what you're talking about right now. Is he's surrounded with, he's a young athlete. There's a lot of friction and negativity on the team. The coach came from being a college coach to all of a sudden coaching young teenagers, and it's been a hard transition. How do you deal with that? Because best case scenario, remove yourself from the situation.
Yeah.
When you are kind of stuck in that situation, how do you make that situation better?
Yeah, that's really interesting. And I think that, the first thing, I've worked with a golfer, I've been working with a golfer for a while, and I know nothing about golf. So let me, I don't know anything about golf because it's not the golf game I'm working on, it's the mental game I'm working on. And so, she really started with, my coaches, my teammates, and blah, blah, blah. And the first thing I said, look, I want you to have compassion for them. And she's like, compassion? Are you kidding me? Like, compassion? Why would you want me to have compassion? And I go, look, the first thing you understand is if they knew better, they'd do better. And if they knew better, they would do better, which means, look, they're coming at you with old beliefs, and you've had old beliefs that you've conquered, with beliefs that they don't know that they have. So they don't understand that they have the belief, and they don't understand how that belief hurts them and other people around them. They don't know better. So your compassion is just looking at them as these people that are on a journey, like you are on a journey to learn and to grow. They just haven't had the opportunity yet to get what they're doing to themselves and to other people. They don't know better. Because look, I don't know anybody in this world that if they really knew better, and I mean at a deep, deep, deep level, like we kind of surfacely know better, but I'm talking about the programs that are running us. Because you're not running from this conscious program. We're running from a subconscious program, just like the belief I was running from. And I didn't know better, because I knew better, I'd do better. So if you understand that everybody's running from a subconscious program, whatever was put into their brains as a child, and like people say such horrible things, and they don't even know they say them, and then we accept them as truth. And so all the people that are around him, literally, like if he just has compassion and understand, like if they knew better, they'd do better. They're not doing this to intentionally harm themselves or me. They're just doing it out of, a sort of an ignorance of where they're at. And I think that really helps have compassion, and you don't take it personal because it's not about you. It's about them.
Right.
I want to get more into the Olympics because I know there have to be some challenging situations that you experienced on that journey. So
Oh,
share one or two of those with us.
well, there's so many there, right? Because back when I trained for the Olympics, there was no money. Like we were all amateurs. You could not be a professional, so you couldn't accept any money. So it kind of started out with there were 13 women living in one house, right? So you can imagine 13 women, first of all, living in a small space. So I can say that because I'm a woman. Um, and we had 2.5 baths that we had to share. So that meant like when you went to the shower, you turn the shower on to get wet, you turn it off, you lathered up, turn it on, and got out so that everybody had hot water. I mean, that was like some of the simple things, not even to mention the emotional things that were going on. Because if you had 13 women, everybody's in your business, you have no privacy, you have no personal time. We had to share one kitchen. So we had to go in groups of 4 to share the kitchen. I mean, it was really a challenge. So from that thing, and we had to pay for it all. So, we were all making minimum wage back then was $3.35 an hour. That was the minimum wage. We were working minimum wage jobs. I worked at Hallmark Card Store, which, like nothing against Hallmark, but like I am not programmed to go in and put cards in a little slot. I am not programmed for that. $3.35 an hour, right? So that's what most of us were making, was this really small amount of money. Um, so that's what was going on, and we're living in this small space, and then we're working all day and then training at night. And our facilities were always, we had one facility. Now a handball court is 40 feet longer than a basketball court and 20 feet wider. Okay, so it's a relatively large court. We worked out in a elementary school gym that doubled as a cafeteria. That was one of our workout spots at 9 o'clock at night. So, I mean, those are just some of the, logistics that we went through to train. And so that was kind of I like to tell those because sometimes people don't understand how hard it was to find, a place to train, to live with no money, and to make, this experience. But let me say this, having said all that, it was the most blessed time I ever had. It was so much fun. Enjoyed like my teammates, enjoyed training. I mean, the fun we had at the house sometimes, when we had, like we celebrated Christmas together. I mean, some of those were really awesome. And the logistics of it was really difficult.
Yeah, that's so different than today when, we hear athletes complaining they don't have the latest or the greatest or even the NIL now that's, permeated
Right.
through colleges. But
Yeah, we didn't have
um
an athletic trainer. You just put like ice on it, put a beer on it, whatever. Like that was our.
so you're going, it sounds miserable, except you're saying that how much fun you had. So what kept you guys doing this? You're not making money, you're not being really fully supported. So what was the bigger picture? What kept you motivated? What was your
Well,
why?
yeah, the why was being an Olympian. I mean, it was that unique opportunity that so few people ever get. It's easier to be struck by lightning than it is to be an Olympian. I mean, that's the odds of being an Olympian. And that for at that time in our lives, it was the biggest and the most elite level that any woman could ever get to because there was no WNBA. There was no, I mean, there was tennis and tennis players were making a little bit of money, but it wasn't to the level that people can go pro now. There was no pro opportunities for women back then. So this was the most elite level that you could get to. So we all had that dream of, walking into the Olympic Stadium and being an Olympian.
How many chills did you get when you heard the national anthem?
Oh my gosh. Every single time. Every single time. And it still held, every time I was coaching basketball for 23 years, every time they sang the national anthem, I was reliving, like literally, because back then you represented the United States, you had the red, white, and blue on every single time you played, and I was representing the United States, and every single time the national anthem came on, I got little tears because I remembered, back of those days when it was played and we were representing, our country.
So from that experience, and that's what I love about your stories, because you've got so many different aspects of it, from the Olympic handball to the basketball to the coaching and all that. But again, let's just build on some of the lessons you learned through the adversity of the training, the Olympics themselves. And what are some lessons that you can share that you learned through some of that adversity?
Well, I think one of the biggest lessons that we forget is to be grateful. Is just to be grateful every day. Is to wake up being grateful. I had this teammate that taught me this, and she'd wake up and she'd look out the window and she goes, "Oh my gosh, it's so beautiful." Well, being from Texas, like now we're in New Jersey, and I'm like being from Texas, I'm thinking that's like the sun is up, it's really pretty outside. I'd get to the window and it'd be like snowing. I go, "What is wrong with you? Like, what are you looking at? Like, it's not the same thing I'm looking at, you know?" And then she'd wake up the next day. She goes, "Oh my gosh, you got to see this! It's so beautiful." Well, it'd be like sleeting or raining. I'm like, "What is?" And I just go, "What?" Like every day you wake up and you think it's beautiful. She goes, "Yeah, because if you think it's beautiful, it's gonna be." I go, "Oh, well, that's stupid." Um, but I learned, like, really, to be grateful, to start looking for things to be grateful for, to start really finding things that if every day you wake up and you find some beauty in the day, you're going to live that beauty, right? So, because you always get what you're looking for. And that piece of gratitude, to find it and to remember you're always going to get what you're looking for, is really an important tool for people to understand. So, if you're looking for something negative, you're always going to find it. If you're looking for something positive, you're always going to find it. So, what are you looking for? And one of the ways to do that is to be grateful.
Do you have some gratitude practices that you do yourself, gratitude journal or anything like that?
Of course, of course, of course. Absolutely. I think
Yeah.
that, I have a gratitude journal that I write in every morning. And then I had a friend of mine just say this to me yesterday, because I write things down that I'm grateful for, as in like right now, things that are happening right now. He says in his gratitude journal, he writes down as if they've already happened. Right. And I'm like,
Mhm.
oh, I need to add that. Like, I need to add, thank you for, I just told Jeff I was doing a new business program to learn more about my business and grow my business. I was like, oh, wow, that's what I need to start. Like, being grateful for something that has not yet happened, but being grateful that it is happening. It's going on right now. So that's part of that. You're combining kind of visualization with gratitude at the same time. I think it's great practice.
I love that.
Mhm.
Well, Sherry, and I know you did an amazing job, and Jeff and I appreciate it, of reading through Challenger Deep. So as you did that, do you remember, or do you have a favorite story from the book?
I don't remember the stories. I do remember, what I do remember is thinking as I was reading the book, this is perfect for student athletes right now, or for athletes. It's perfect because it gives you all these little tools that you need to be better at what you're doing. This is perfect. Like, it's something that you read the story and then you have exercises, like self-reflection exercises to do, to really help the mental game. And I really believe that, and you know this, all of you know this, it's the mental game that prevents us from getting what we want. It's not, mostly if you're at a certain level, you have the physical skills. It's that mental game that really helps you. And I think that the book that you guys wrote is a great resource for working on your mental game. And I would suggest anybody who's listening to this to get that book and do the exercises.
We appreciate that. Now, when this episode comes out, I think, Jeff, from it's going to be maybe Final Four week or somewhere around the end of
Yes.
March Madness. So I'm putting you on the spot. Who are you? Who's winning men and women national championship?
Man, who do I want to win? I want Duke to win the men.
Oh,
And who do I want to win the women? Oh, that's a hard one. One of the coaches I love, just because of what she gives back, is Dawn Staley. So I really love who she is as a person. Now, she's had a lot of success, so it's like, she should win one more time. I don't know, but she's a wonderful person. I don't know the other people. I mean, I don't know. I only see what they see on TV, right? But the person that Dawn shows up on TV as is, I'm like rooting for that person, because I believe if she's that person, she's passing those emotional, mental skills on to her players. I think there was a fight that occurred in a game last year. I didn't see it this year, but last year. And she comes out right away and says, "This was wrong of us. We acted in a poor manner. We will be talking about it. We'll be resolving this on the team. And I apologize to anybody who's watched this." I was like, whoa, like that is a perfect response. Like, how cool is that? So I love that. And so, my good wishes go to Don Staley.
I remember us talking about that incident, and that was a night and day answer from the other coach. But
Night and day.
yeah, I'm a Dawn Staley fan too. She's a great model of everything that we've talked about today,
Yeah,
from gratitude to, what you focus on grows. So
yeah, for sure.
Sherry, you've got a number of them, but just for our listeners, one, let them know where they can learn more about you, follow you, but also tell us a little about your books.
So you can find me at thewinningleadershipcompany.com. Folks, I don't handle a lot of athletes. I say that I have 3 right now that I'm coaching. I don't, it's not something that I normally do. It's something that I do if somebody reaches out to me and says, "Oh my gosh, like I really want you to help me." And if I believe that they're going to do the work, I would do that for them. But you can find me, and if you want to have a conversation with me, always happy to give a conversation to a parent, to gift a conversation to a parent or an athlete, a one-time gift, a 45-minute conversation that I can guarantee you 3 takeaways that will change your career for sure. And you can just find me at thewinningleadershipcompany.com and just shoot me an email. Happy to do that for you. So you asked me another question and I got sidetracked on that.
Your books.
My books. So I have a couple of books, and I'm working on my 3rd one right now that should be out in April. My last book was 7 Secrets to Being a Truly Powerful Leader. And if you're like, like, what does that have to do with, what I'm doing? What I'll tell you is this: if you're an athlete and you can be a great leader, you are worth gold. You're worth gold, people, for sure. And then the other book I have is called Unleash the Winner Within You, a success game plan for business, leadership, and life. Again, that one's chock full of more athletic stories and things like that people can do. And then I have another coming out in April. So, and I'm working on my one right after that about resilience. So I'm just loving the process of talking to people, interviewing people, and writing.
And that's actually how we met. You interviewed me for your book, and I'm grateful for that, and because it's turned into a great relationship. So,
well, thank you.
You know what? I actually wouldn't mind talking about that, because something you are amazing at is relationships. I have a card from you posted on my wall here. I've received a number of cards in the mail from you. It's, just recently, hey, we haven't talked for a while. Let's catch up. Talk about the importance of relationships in everything we do.
That's a great, look, your team is only as good as your relationships. And your business is all about relationships. So if you're not willing to work on relationships, you're really saying this team is not important to me, or this business is not important to me. And what I've discovered, I was not good at networking. I was not good at relationships when I was younger. And I learned how important and powerful those are. And it doesn't even mean what I get from it, but more now what I give to it. Because the pleasure of giving, just like today, hoping that somebody who hears this, it will help them overcome an adversity. It will help them get over the hump. It will help them, like if you're drinking as an answer to an adversity, maybe you'll stop. Didn't work. But whatever that is, it's just really like every time I speak to somebody, I receive a gift and I hope that I give a gift. And that's the importance of relationships.
Thank you.
Well, you have definitely given me a gift today. You've left me with a lot of things, so I am sure all of our listeners were left with gifts too. And I appreciate our relationship and all that you do out there to make a difference, Sherry.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. I think the more of us that there are, the more that we can positively impact, this earth and the people and our country. And I just hope that the more people that are like us out there, the more that we can do that. And so I'm hoping that if you're a person like us, please, please, please keep sharing.
Super. Well, thank you, Sherry. And for our listeners, if you don't have a copy yet of Challenger Deep Athletes Rise Above Adversity, you can go to jeffheggie.com/freebook, get your copy, or get it on Amazon or on tammymatheny.com. So many places we want to share that with you. So thank you so much, Sherry. We appreciate you spending the time with us today and really appreciate you.
Thank you, guys. I appreciate you too.
Thank you for joining us on Challenger Deep, Athletes Rising Above Adversity. We hope these stories inspire and equip you to tackle life's challenges head on. Don't forget to visit www.confidentathleteprogram.com/Challenger Deep to get all of our free resources from the book, your copy of our book, and access to 2 free weeks of the Confident Athlete program. Remember, in life, adversity only visits the strong. It stays forever with the weak. Let's rise above together. See you next time.